Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the Cricketing Hour. New Zealand have done it. They've beaten Pakistan by 4 runs in a thrilling game at the Gaddafi Stadium. So let's start with exactly how they did it. Let's go back to the toss first. This time New Zealand won the toss, opted to bat first, and for the third time in a row, we have seen the team batting first at the Gaddafi Stadium, going on to win the game. Granted, today it could have gone either way, but this was a theme throughout the PSL, batting first at the Gaddafi Stadium. It's been a theme throughout the series as well, because the pitch completely dies in the second half of the game. So this ground really favors batting first, and we saw that throughout the game today, because I don't think New Zealand would have been able to compete otherwise. Let's start with their power play. I think Shaheen and Naseem were exceptional today with the new ball, apart from a few extras at the start. There were 20 dot balls in New Zealand's power play. They got only 35, that's less than 6 and over. But crucially, they only lost one wicket. And they knew they had the batsmen to play on throughout those 20 overs and get a total on the board. And that's exactly what they did. Let's compare New Zealand's first innings to Pakistan's batting innings as well. Both teams got exactly 35 in the power play, but the difference came in the middle overs. In the middle overs, New Zealand, they managed to keep scoring at a steady pace while not losing wickets. They got 77 for 1. Pakistan, on the other hand, as we just saw, got 57 for 5. So that's a massive difference, because Pakistan have lost way more wickets, they've scored way less runs, and that's where New Zealand simply got the advantage and sealed the game. Tom Latham, spectacular performance from him. He got some game time out on the pitch in the last game as well. But today he carried his bat throughout the innings, made sure to stay there until the 15th, 16th over, made sure to assess the pitch, get those 60, 65 runs he got, and made sure that his team didn't collapse, which is exactly what Pakistan didn't have. On a pitch like this, you need an anchor batsman, someone to just bat through the innings, make sure wickets don't fall in a heap, and Pakistan lacked that today. So, from a bowling point of view, I think Pakistan's main weak links were Shadab and Imad, because the pitch didn't favor spin at all. Imad, it was a good decision by Babar to not bowl him out. Shadab bowled his 4 overs, which is fine, I guess, but in hindsight, that wasn't the correct decision. Fahim should have bowled a 3rd over, and Shadab should not have bowled his quota. But I think Babar felt that way because Shadab had a great first over, got a wicket, gave away only 1 run. So he thought Shadab could recover from that, but as it turned out to be, he couldn't. In the death overs, really, I think Pakistan's bowlers did the best they could. New Zealand, of course, Mark Chapman, who's been brilliant for them throughout this series. He's been the only New Zealand batsman who's looked comfortable against the pace bowlers of Pakistan. He got a few hits at the end. Nisham did as well. And 165 on the board, 164 the target. I think Pakistan would have fancied themselves. I think even though it's a defending ground, Pakistan would have felt that they've restricted New Zealand to a good score, and they should have chased it, frankly. Unless they had the worst batting collapse possible, which is exactly what happened. Complete destruction here, and there's a couple of things to note about this Pakistani collapse. It's nothing new, because it's a staple of every game. Even when they won, like they won the last game, they still had a collapse of 4 for 6. You can't have a game in which Pakistan is involved without a Pakistani collapse. So this one was a little bit different, because let's look at the balls played by each batsman. Rizwan 10, Babar 6, Fakhr 22, Saim 10, Shadab 19, Imad 5, Shaheen 6. So the key thing is, even though none of them scored any runs, none of them got even 20 runs, they all played substantial amount of balls, especially Fakhr and Shadab, who played nearly 20. And that's which perhaps cost Pakistan the game, because you have these players who are not scoring runs, who are consuming balls, who are taking away the chance for the later order, Fahim and Iftikhar, to get more balls and take Pakistan over the line. Now, why did this happen? You can see there's a couple of indicators as well. There wasn't a single bowler from New Zealand who just blew them all away. There wasn't a phase of the game where we suddenly lost 5 wickets for 2 runs and that's where we lost the game. We lost wickets at regular intervals. We failed to build partnerships. That's what's happened in this collapse, and this is more worrying than, say, a 5 for 2 collapse, because that you can just say, one bowler was bowling really well, or in that particular period the pitch was playing tricks on the batsman. But this didn't happen. We lost wicket throughout the innings, and this is a pretty worrying sign for Pakistan. I think Shan Masood, Haris, they have a good opportunity now to get into the side for the next 2 games, because they can make a case for themselves. Look, the middle order isn't performing. Why don't you give us a chance and expect Haris and Nawaz probably to come in the next game? Imad, of course, he hasn't translated his PSL form at all. He was one of the best batsmen of the PSL, the best all-rounder of the PSL as well. And he's had a torrid series so far, had a subpar series in Afghanistan as well, apart from 1 game. But then, let's talk about the Iftikhar show. When Pakistan are 88 for 7, and they have about half the target left to chase, when more than half the side is back in the hut, the game is over, the fans are leaving, New Zealand is enjoying celebrating, for someone to come out and hit sixes, not just the amount of sixes, but the magnitude of sixes. When Iftikhar hits a six, it goes almost out of the stadium. His sixes are huge. For someone to play an innings like that is exceptional. Strike rate of 250, 60 of just 24 in such a pressure situation. This is one of the knocks of the year in T20 cricket. And let's talk about how he did it. When Pakistan, at the 15th over mark, we still needed more than 50 runs. And more than 50, we needed more than 70 runs to win the game. And the game was completely out of hand. But it all changed in one Adam Milne over, which they took for 23 runs. So let's take a deep dive in that over. First ball, Milne tries for the Yorker, misses, it's a full toss, Iftikhar hits it for 6. Third ball of the over, Milne tries a Yorker, misses, it's a full toss, Iftikhar hits it for 6. The exact same thing, copy and paste, put it back there. And now Milne learned his lesson. What was going on here? Milne was trying to go for the Yorker, but due to the dew on the ball, he couldn't hit the Yorker, so it was converted into a full toss. Now Milne learned his lesson and he tried to go for the short ball. He tried to dig it into the pitch, get the bounce of the pitch and bowl back off a length. When he did that, Iftikhar couldn't hit a boundary and he took a single. Then Fahim came on strike. Fahim couldn't hit that ball either. But by now, Fahim had figured out Milne's plan. He realized that Milne is now going to bowl short due to the dew present. So this time Fahim, on the last ball of the over, simply sat back, waited for the short ball and carted it for 6. So this was a really interesting mind games battle being played out in the 18th over. And unfortunately here, Adam Milne came off worse. The next over, Matt Henry, he also learned from Milne's mistake, because when Fahim got out and Naseem Shah came in, all 3 balls to Naseem Shah were short, dug into the pitch back of a length, because he saw from Milne's over that these balls couldn't be played by the batsman. Then we come to the last over. 15 needed of 6. It's anybody's game. And this is where Iftikhar gets a 6 and a 4 in the first 3 balls. Big advantage now to Pakistan. Just 5 needed from 3 balls. When again Jimmy Neesham goes for the short ball, digs it into the pitch back of a length, and Iftikhar can't get it away. It's a mistimed shot. He gets out, and ultimately Haris Rauf can't score the needed 5 runs to get Pakistan over the line. So a couple of talking points in general. Number 1, there was a lot of dew present today, because I don't think Milne would have missed his Yorkers otherwise. And secondly, really this shows just how much of a defending ground this is. None of Pakistan's batsmen could get going. There's a couple of points though. Babar Azam got just 1 of 6. Rizwan as well, a strike rate of 60. Fakhr scored 17 of 22 balls. And honestly, had say Babar or Rizwan gotten out for a golden duck, that actually would have been more beneficial for Pakistan, because it would have given more balls to Iftikhar and Fahim to score those runs at the end. The crucial point in games like these is to not consume too many dot balls. Dot balls are the death of your team in T20 cricket, because if you can just rotate the strike, get those singles, you can get 15-20 extra runs across the span of an innings, and that would have been the difference today for Pakistan. From a bowling point of view, I think New Zealand should definitely be proud of themselves, apart from that effort at the death, because in the middle overs they were absolutely exceptional, didn't let Pakistan build any partnerships, and most crucially took wickets at regular intervals. As far as the death is concerned, yes, there was a lot of dew present, but they need to be able to re-evaluate their plans. When they saw the Yorker wasn't working, Adam Milne should have gone for the short balls earlier. And probably slower balls could also have been tried a bit more. So Tom Latham is the player of the game. I think that's deserved for the New Zealand side, but Iftikhar was absolutely exceptional today. 60 of 24, those are insane. I mean, insane figures, especially on a pitch like this, in a match situation like this, when your team is almost lost. I think this is a fantastic performance from Iftikhar Ahmed. Now, let's look at this particular game in the wider context of the series. New Zealand are now 2-1. But I think in the last couple of games now, we're done with the Lahore leg. We'll now be going to Rawalpindi for the next few games, where the pitch will be much flatter as well. I think Pakistan need to get Saim in. I think we need to get Nawaz in as well, because honestly, they need to look at the bigger picture. It doesn't matter if they lose this series. What they're actually preparing for is the World Cup. What they actually want to do is give their players, their fringe players, more match practice to see if they're really up for the challenge of the upcoming World Cup in October, November. So I think Shan Masood should also probably be given a game. Nawaz and Haris, of course, definitely. Imad should probably be rested because he hasn't been performing. And I think the other players to rest, if you want to get Shan Masood and Muhammad Haris into the side. Maybe you can rest Rizwan for Haris. This is a bit controversial, but because he's also a keeper, Haris can just find his footing in the side, see how his batting shapes up in the side. And Saim Ayub can probably be replaced for Shan Masood, just to give Shan a game, just see how he's doing and if he's in form. Because Shan's better format is ODI cricket, and he might play a role in the upcoming World Cup. From the New Zealand side, I think they should be pretty happy, because to defend 160 without Lockie Ferguson, without Tim Southee, who are in the IPL right now, that's a big achievement for them. It's also going to give Tom Latham a lot of confidence, because right now we don't know if Tom Latham will be the captain in the World Cup, because Kane Williamson's ruled out. It could also be Tim Southee, but this is definitely going to give Latham a solid boost of confidence. So that's all from this really interesting close-fought game between Pakistan and New Zealand. And well, we've got the sequel coming up in Rawalpindi just 3 days later. So tune into the Cricketing Hour for our analysis then. Thanks for watching. Allah Hafiz.